stick figure stared at her laptop screen in disbelief. 2:47 a.m. The cursor blinked mockingly in the retirement calculator field where she just entered 42 for her age and 47,000 for her current savings balance. The result that flashed back made her stomach drop. You need $1.2 million to retire comfortably. You are 73% behind the average American your age. 73% behind. The words echoed in her mind like a death sentence. She'd been a nurse for 18 years. She'd scrimped, saved, and sacrificed weekend trips to build that $47,000. And some algorithm was telling her she was failing catastrophically compared to everyone else. What stick figure didn't know, what the financial industry desperately doesn't want you to know, is that she'd just been fed one of the most destructive lies in personal finance. A lie so mathematically elegant, so statistically seductive, that it's convinced millions of Americans they're financial failures when they're actually doing just fine. Walk into any financial advisor's office, scroll through any retirement blog, flip through any investment magazine, and you'll see the same terrifying numbers splashed across headlines like warnings from a financial apocalypse. Average American needs $1.8 million to retire. Typical household has $1.4 million saved by retirement. Are you behind? Most people your age have $200,000 saved. These numbers aren't technically wrong, they're mathematically accurate, but they're about as useful for planning your actual retirement as knowing that the average person has slightly fewer than 2 arms. Here's what's really happening. You're being manipulated by one of the most elegant statistical tricks ever weaponized by an entire industry. It's called the mean versus median trap, and it's making ordinary people feel like financial failures while making financial institutions very, very rich. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop with 9 other people. Everyone orders their drink, sits down, and starts talking about money. 9 of you are nurses, teachers, mechanics, and office workers with typical savings accounts, maybe $30,000, $50,000, $75,000 in retirement funds. Then Jeff Bezos walks in. Suddenly, the average person in that coffee shop is worth billions of dollars. Congratulations, you're all statistically wealthy now. Time to start shopping for yachts and private jets. Except you're still sitting there with your $50,000 trying to figure out how to pay for your kids' college tuition. This is exactly what happens when financial media throws around retirement averages. They're mixing Jeff Bezos with you and calling it a fair comparison. The hockey stick of wealth. Here's what wealth distribution in America actually looks like. Imagine a hockey stick lying on its side. You've got this long, flat handle where 80% of Americans live. People with modest savings, steady jobs, normal financial struggles. Then there's this sharp vertical blade shooting straight up into the stratosphere where the ultra-wealthy exist in a completely different mathematical universe. When you calculate the average retirement savings, you're averaging the flat part of that hockey stick with the vertical part. And mathematics doesn't care about fairness or reality. It just cranks out a number that represents essentially nobody's actual experience. The result? A statistical phantom that haunts your 3 a.m. anxiety sessions. But there's another number lurking behind all this financial theater, a number the industry mentions in whispered footnotes but never headlines, a number that actually tells you what's happening in real people's real lives. It's called the median. While the average tells you what happens when you mix billionaires with normal humans, the median tells you something revolutionary. What does the person standing exactly in the middle of the wealth spectrum actually have? Line up every American from poorest to richest. Find the person standing exactly in the center and peek at their bank account. That's your median. No Jeff Bezos contamination, no statistical manipulation, just the raw truth of what typical looks like. And that truth is going to shock you. The brutal reality of American retirement savings. Let's start with the scary part. The average American approaching retirement has about $170,000 in retirement savings. Sounds reasonable, right? Maybe even achievable if you really buckle down and get serious about saving. But here's the median reality. The typical American approaching retirement has about $12,000 in actual liquid retirement assets. Read that again. $12,000. Not $170,000, not even close. The person standing exactly in the middle of the American retirement savings spectrum has roughly enough money to last 1 year if they eat ramen and nothing goes wrong. How is this possible? How can the average be $170,000 while the median is $12,000? Because a small number of extremely wealthy Americans are dragging that average up into the stratosphere, while the rest of us live in a completely different financial reality. The Great Retirement Account Illusion. But wait, it gets more complicated and honestly more devastating. That $170,000 average retirement savings, that's just retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, pension plans. It doesn't account for debt. It doesn't account for whether you can actually access that money. And it definitely doesn't account for the fact that most of that wealth is tied up in houses that people can't or won't sell. Let's do the actual math that financial advisors pray you'll never do. Average retirement savings, $170,000. Average debt approaching retirement, $96,000. Actual liquid net worth, $74,000. That's what you really have to work with, not $170,000, not even close. After you subtract what you owe, the average American has $74,000 in actual spendable money for retirement. And remember, that's the average, inflated by millionaires. The median liquid net worth for Americans approaching retirement is closer to $12,000. This is the mathematical lie you've been fed your entire working life. But wait, you're thinking, what about Social Security? Isn't that supposed to fill the gap? Social Security was designed to be one leg of a three-legged retirement stool, along with pensions and personal savings. Except we killed pensions decades ago, and we've just established that personal savings are a disaster. So now, Social Security is a one-legged stool, which is just a stick, and you're trying to sit on it. The average Social Security benefit is about $1,780 per month. That's $21,360 per year. For context, the poverty line for a single person is around $14,000 annually. Congratulations, Social Security keeps you slightly above poverty. You can afford to be marginally less poor than someone with literally no income at all. But here's the part that should terrify anyone under 50. Social Security is projected to run out of its trust fund reserves by 2034. When that happens, the system will only be able to pay about 78% of scheduled benefits. That $1,780 monthly check becomes $1,388. Try living on that in any major city. I'll wait. Now, let's talk about the cruelest joke in retirement planning: home equity. When financial experts calculate the average net worth of Americans approaching retirement, they love to include home equity. Suddenly, that number jumps to around $1 million. Look, they exclaim, everyone's a millionaire. Problem solved. Except you can't eat your house. The average home value for Americans approaching retirement might be $400,000, but that same person still owes $150,000 on their mortgage. Their net housing wealth is $250,000, which sounds great until you realize that money is completely theoretical. It's locked in the walls, the foundation, the roof. It's sitting there being mathematically valuable while being practically useless for buying groceries or paying for medications. You're house rich and cash poor, which is a fancy way of saying you own a valuable asset that you can't actually spend unless you sell your home and move into, what exactly? A smaller, cheaper house? Great, now you've got some cash but nowhere to live that you actually like. A reverse mortgage? Congratulations, you're now paying interest to access your own equity while watching your home's value get eaten away by fees and compound interest. The debt time bomb. Here's something that should make your blood run cold. 40% of Americans approaching retirement still have mortgage payments. Remember when the dream was to have your house paid off by retirement? That was back when people bought homes in their 20s and stayed in them for 30 years. Now, people are buying homes later, refinancing to pull out equity, trading up for bigger houses, and treating their homes like ATM machines. So you're trying to live on $1,388 in Social Security, remember, 78% of the current benefit after 2034, plus maybe $500 monthly from your $12,000 in savings if you're the median American, while also making a $1,500 monthly mortgage payment? The math doesn't math. You're underwater before you've even started retirement. The industry that profits from your panic. Now, you might be wondering, why would the financial industry perpetuate these misleading averages? Why would they want you to feel like a failure? Because panic is profitable. When you think you're 73% behind the average person your age, you make desperate decisions. You chase high-fee investment products that promise to catch you up quickly. You work with financial advisors who charge percentage fees on assets you don't have. You buy expensive insurance products that sound like smart financial planning, but mostly just generate commissions. The entire financial advice industry is built on the premise that you're doing everything wrong and desperately need their help to fix it. But what if you're not actually behind? What if you're actually ahead of most people? What if the average you're comparing yourself to is a statistical phantom that represents nobody's real experience? The geographical reality check. Let's add another layer to this mathematical deception: geography. That $170,000 average retirement savings, it's heavily weighted towards expensive coastal cities where tech executives and finance professionals inflate the numbers. If you live in San Francisco or Manhattan and you've saved $170,000, you're probably in trouble. That money won't last long when rent is $4,000 monthly. But if you live in Cleveland or Des Moines or Tucson, that same $170,000 stretches much further. Your housing costs are lower, your taxes might be lower, your overall cost of living is manageable. The retirement number that keeps you awake at night was calculated using an average that includes Manhattan penthouse dwellers and tech millionaires, then applied to your life in normal America. It's like using the average income of Hollywood actors to determine whether you're being paid fairly as a teacher in Ohio. The comparison is mathematically valid and completely useless. The age breakdown that changes everything. Here's another way the retirement industry misleads you. They love to throw around average savings numbers without breaking them down by age. The average American has $170,000 saved for retirement. What they don't tell you is that this number includes 65-year-olds who've had their entire careers to save and 25-year-olds who just started their first jobs last month. Let's break down what median retirement savings actually looks like by age. Ages 25 to 34, median savings of about $3,000. Ages 35 to 44, median savings of about $12,000. Ages 45 to 54, median savings of about $45,000. Ages 55 to 64, median savings of about $60,000. Notice something? Even people in their 50s and 60s who should theoretically be hitting their peak saving years have median retirement savings that are nowhere near the average numbers you see in headlines. If you're 35 with $15,000 saved, you're ahead of half the people your age. If you're 45 with $50,000 saved, you're not failing. You're doing better than the median American. If you're 55 with $100,000 saved, you're not desperate. You're actually in pretty good shape compared to most people approaching retirement. The compound interest revelation. Here's the part that should give you hope instead of despair. Understanding where you actually stand is the first step to making real progress. If you're in your 30s with anything saved, literally anything, you have something that most of your peers don't have: time and compound interest working together. Let's say you're 35 with $15,000 saved. You're already ahead of the median. Now, if you can save $300 monthly from now until retirement, that $15,000 grows to about $700,000 by age 65. Not from some magical investment strategy, not from picking winning stocks, just from putting $300 monthly into boring index funds and letting compound interest do what it does. $700,000 sounds like a lot more than the $60,000 the median American has at retirement, doesn't it? So what should you actually be comparing yourself to? What numbers actually matter for your retirement planning? First, forget the averages. They're contaminated by outliers and designed to make you panic. Second, understand that median savings by age give you a realistic baseline for where you stand compared to actual human beings, not statistical phantoms. Third, focus on replacement ratio, not absolute numbers. How much of your current income will you need to replace in retirement? If you're making $50,000 annually now and you can live on $40,000 in retirement because your mortgage is paid off, your kids are independent, and you're no longer saving for retirement, you need to replace 80% of your current income. With Social Security providing maybe $20,000 annually, you need your savings to generate about $20,000 per year. Using the 4% rule, which says you can safely withdraw 4% of your savings annually, you'd need about $500,000 saved to generate $20,000 per year. That's still a big number, but it's much more achievable than the $1.8 million panic-inducing target the financial media loves to throw around.
The psychological freedom. But here's what might be the most important revelation of all. Understanding that you're not as far behind as you think you are provides something invaluable: psychological freedom. When you think you're 73% behind the average American, every financial decision feels desperate. You're tempted to take huge risks to catch up. You lose sleep. You make choices from a place of fear and scarcity. But when you understand that you're actually ahead of the median American, that you have time, that the path to financial security is achievable with consistent, boring habits, everything changes. You can make rational decisions instead of desperate ones. You can stick to proven strategies instead of chasing get-rich-quick schemes. You can sleep at night instead of recalculating retirement scenarios at 3 a.m. So what should you actually do with this information? First, figure out where you really stand. Compare yourself to the median for your age group, not the panic-inducing averages. Second, calculate your actual replacement ratio. How much income do you really need to replace in retirement? Factor in Social Security, eliminate savings you won't need to do anymore, and account for a potentially paid-off mortgage. Third, automate your savings. The people who successfully build wealth don't rely on willpower or perfect timing. They set up automatic transfers and increase them gradually over time. Fourth, use tax-advantaged accounts. If your employer offers a 401k match, take it. That's free money. Max out a Roth IRA if you're eligible. These accounts can dramatically accelerate your progress. Finally, stay invested. The stock market will crash while you're saving. It will crash multiple times. This is not a bug in the system, it's a feature. Market crashes are when you buy assets at a discount. The truth behind the numbers. The average retirement savings number is a mathematical lie because it treats outliers and typical people as if they exist in the same universe. They don't. The median retirement savings number is uncomfortable truth because it reveals how many Americans are genuinely struggling financially. But it's also liberating truth because it shows you that you're probably not as far behind as you think. Your retirement security doesn't depend on comparing yourself to statistical phantoms created by mixing billionaires with normal humans. It depends on understanding your real situation, making consistent progress, and ignoring the financial media's panic-inducing manipulation. Stick figure sitting at her laptop at 2:47 a.m. needed to understand that her $47,000 in savings didn't make her a failure. It made her significantly ahead of the median American her age. She didn't need to panic. She didn't need to chase risky investments. She didn't need to feel ashamed of her progress. She needed to keep doing what she was already doing, saving consistently, investing sensibly, and ignoring the mathematical lies designed to make her feel inadequate. The retirement planning industry profits when you feel behind, inadequate, and desperate for their expensive solutions. You profit when you understand reality, make steady progress, and refuse to let statistical manipulation drive your financial decisions. The choice is yours. The final calculation. Here's the number that actually matters. What percentage of your current income can you save and invest consistently? Not 20%, not 15%, not even 10%. Whatever percentage you can maintain month after month, year after year, without making yourself miserable. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 3%, maybe you can only afford $50 monthly right now. That's not failure. That's the beginning of compound interest working for you instead of against you. And compound interest doesn't care about averages, medians, or financial media headlines. It only cares about time and consistency. Start today. Start small if you need to, but start. The mathematical lies will always be there, trying to convince you that you're failing. The mathematical truth is simpler. Every dollar you save and invest today is a dollar that will work for you for the rest of your life. That's not a statistical manipulation. That's just math.